Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're reviewing this week's episodes of Raw and Smackdown, including the Shield reunion, Sami Zayn turning heel, and what was the other thing? Enzo Amore losing his title. So much stuff, I almost forgot. If you want to go straight to those discussions, click the timestamps in the video description below, and remember, who wins Raw or SmackDown matters now, because that goes into the overall month's WrestleRamble war between myself and Luke. So it's important to watch to the end. It's our way of trying to make you stick around for those sweet, sweet YouTube retention algorithms.
You say that though, but I suppose it still counts, because they could just click the timestamp now to see which. Well, they could skip all of our discussion and just go straight to that timestamp.
Yeah, and make your own vote in the Raw versus SmackDown poll, which happens right at the end of the show. Maybe people don't even know about that. They're like, I've never even seen that, because they stopped watching as soon as we finished the SmackDown review, whatever review went on second. So yeah, there is so much, isn't there? Right until the very last second of the show.
And speaking of bonuses, and speaking of stuff that you might enjoy, that you didn't know you might enjoy.
I felt like you wanted me to jump in sooner there.
I did, because I had a, you know those naked bars? I had a peanut butter one, which was delicious, but a little bit of peanuts kind of stuck in my throat a little bit, and I thought I was better cough on it, so I was like, I better get you to fill in the blanks, because I may cough.
Luke nearly coughed because of all the nuts in his mouth.
That's true.
I thought that was we could have tied that into Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler's promo. Yeah,
yeah. Oh, you want a match? Yeah.
I don't just want a match, want a rematch.
Dear.
Yes, but the actual bonus thing, so we alluded to, well, we actually just flat out said on Monday that on Sunday we had the immense pleasure of going to WrestlingShop.com's secret headquarters, which just had literally thousands of wrestling figurines. We got to, have a look around, and it's part of a thing that we're going to announce soon. That was why we were there.
So we went to a top secret location because of something we're doing that's top secret.
So many levels of clandestine operation. But
excellent word use.
Wrestling Shop, what did you say?
I said excellent word use.
I don't even know if that's how you say it, but I've seen it written. But Wrestling Shop, thank you for having us, and double thank you, because for WrestleTalk viewers, if you go there, WrestlingShop.com, the link's in the video description below, and you see a figurine that you like, maybe a Renee Young basic, maybe a Tamina wearing a bad t-shirt, or maybe something good.
An Isaac Yankem DDS.
That's what I'm talking about.
Pop vinyls. They've got loads of pop vinyls there.
I really like the Heenan family collection.
Yes,
if I was to get anything, that would be my one. If my lady partner would let me put wrestling paraphernalia around the house.
Do you know what I thought was really cool? I really liked, they have a WrestleMania 2 ring, which comes with the big blue steel cage that Hogan fought Bundy in. And it is to scale with Mattel figures. So if you put them in there, you can kind of see how tall the cage was compared to them. And it can hold up to 50 figures, which means you can buy it and use it as an awesome display case. Just throwing some ideas out, people using their 10% discount. Buy the ring and 50 figures to go within there and get 10% off your entire order.
I'm going to troll you, buy that ring and get things that don't scale. Like pop vinyl figures. Look at all my wrong figures in the set.
Instantly my head went like, like a Megazord. Just putting a Megazord in.
Not even a wrestling thing.
Not a wrestling thing, yeah.
I mean, that's how my wrestling promotion when I was a kid was.
Yeah.
Biker Mice from Mars, a couple of Power Rangers in there, and Sting. That's
how it worked. I tell you, I once had a conversation with the creator of Biker Mice from Mars.
No.
That's what I was doing in my interviews for the book, and I was talking to one of the.
Wrote a book.
I wrote a book. I was talking to one of the people behind the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoons, and we were just having a conversation about sort of like 90s cartoons. I was like, I was a big fan of Biker Mice from Mars because she also, and then it's like, I also worked on that. I know the guy who ran it, and I then relayed a story about when I was a nipper. I had a Biker Mice from Mars alarm clock. And it had, I can't remember the characters' names now, to be honest, but he was there on his bike, and there was the sludge dude coming out of like a pipe, and the alarm would go, "Helmets on! It's time to rock and ride, and then it'd make like a bike noise. But I never really knew how to set the alarm. And so it would always just go off at just random points of the night. So like 3:30 in the morning, my parents would be woken up because that would be going off, or maybe like 6:30 or 5, and it would just go off at silly times. And
So you should hate Biker Mice from Mars.
but I love it still. And
Wow.
I told him that story, and he thought it was hilarious.
But yes,
Nice segue.
We should probably actually tell you what the code is. It's WrestleTalk. I mean, we went a bit out of the box with the code, but yeah, it's the name of the channel, WrestleTalk, and you get 10% off. Should we get in with the
so close.
Just hard cut into it.
Haha, it's a Raw review looking jacked, man.
So Raw kicked off with a segment that saw the Shield reform. Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, they all got back together. Luke, it doesn't matter how they got back together. It doesn't matter how that might have wasted a lot of potential, and it doesn't matter what happened on the rest of this 3-hour show, because the Shield reformed. It's 5 out of 5, and Michael Cole, I mean, he had a happy night.
He was beside himself with the amount of action that had taken place. And when I say the amount of action, the Shield had reformed, and he was just like, he couldn't contain himself.
But they didn't just reform once, Luke.
They reformed twice.
No. They reformed many times via replays.
Oh.
I got to relive the moment, like every other match.
I was going to say, it was the quickest episode of Raw to watch
Yeah.
because there was a lot of replays. You could, I've seen this already.
You know how usually people say, but we criticise that Raw's 3 hours long, and the argument against it was, well, it's only 2 hours 10, 2 hours 20 with the adverts removed. Yeah, Monday's episode was about 1:15 of actual content, and then the rest of Kevin Dunn and Michael Cole pressing the replay button.
And I would say, actually, I thought this was a very good reformation angle. However, the first thing I would note as well... Well, okay.
Can I just point out that my initial open there was meant to be dripping with sarcasm, but I am also excited that the Shield are back together. So,
but that's what they're relying on.
Yeah.
Like, someone tweeted me this morning saying, like, it's the best Raw angle since the Festival of Friendship. And I was like, I won't get that far. It's probably not even in the top 5. But, like, it wasn't as good as when Dean and Seth got back together. Like, that storyline was like a good week's worth of payoff. It was brilliant.
It was
like,
longer than that.
That's what I mean. Like, it was
Probably 1 week too many.
Possibly,
anything,
yes.
yeah.
But it was a great moment. That gave me legit goosebumps. I was like, that was superb. That was really great storytelling. And I've got a lot of heat at the moment with the SWAT Nation because I posted up a video yesterday about this. And all the heat I've got is just that this is amazing. Like, what's your problem? They're facing off against the Intercontinental Champion, and they're facing off against the former Tag Team Champions and Braun Strowman. That's an amazing team. My argument is they've got no connection to each other. What is the Bar's issue with Roman Reigns? No one can tell me what the issue that the Bar have with Roman Reigns is.
It came out 1 week.
Well, that's it. Yeah, like
Last week.
I'll be honest. And so the other bit of heat that I've got is I compared this as a joke. It was like DX reforming to rid the WWE of the scourge of the Spirit Squad. It was a completely naff team that was a complete joke. There was no real need for DX to come back together and I was about to say beat them off, but that's a terrible way to use phrase. Beat
the
them,
nuts in the back of your throat. There.
Certainly is, yeah. Beat them up and have matches, all of which they won. BT dubs. But the point I was making there was that's poor storytelling. It was a poor reason for DX to get back together. They should have actually had a credible threat that they should have reformed for. And you can argue that The Miz, The Bar, and Braun are a credible threat, but they've actually given us no reason as to why these three have just got back together, other than they just beat them up a couple of weeks, so now they're best of friends again. In 2 weeks. Yeah. Like, it's really, really poor storytelling.
It's like, it's when you get a Franken team where 2 singles competitors are just thrown together, it feels a bit rubbish for about a month, 2 months, and then they usually break up. In Sheamus and Cesaro's case, they did have that best of 7 series going into it, and they clicked. But the criticism usually is, I just want tag teams. I want tag teams to come up as a unit. It's the same really as a 3-4 person unit. You just don't want to throw them together and then just say, they're threatening, and they are. Like, we're not denouncing that they are a credible threat. And there's 4 of them.
Braun only drawing the team halfway through the show.
Yeah, but the Okay, so let's recap the segment, because it was a good segment. The problem is, I feel there is nothing deeper than the superficial elements to this story.
I agree.
So the Miz comes out. It's the second annual Miz's.
Right. I mean, this was fun. Well, the first point I made here was like, well, way to make these guys look like goofballs again. Like, they had the big thing last week where they laid out Roman with the triple power bomb. They stood there doing the Shield pose and like, oh man, look at these guys, they're badasses. Then they come out here doing goofy comedy, and I'm like, you're a bunch of jokes.
I didn't mind it. I thought it fits in Miz's character.
It wasn't as funny as the first time they did it, and he said it was like the second annual one. It feels like they did this joke last month.
No, it was against Dean, because I remember Miz. Or was it with Dolph Ziggler? It was the Dolph Ziggler feud. It was about a year ago.
Didn't Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas win?
I don't recall.
I seem to recall this only being done about a month ago.
Oh, wow. Well, if it has, I've forgotten about it, which shows what a successful recurring segment it is. And, Miz made jokes. Here's most persistent to Curtis Axel. Well, hey, Curtis Axel wins something. To best supporting actors, you get Sheamus and Cesaro walk out. Well, hey, I must point out, I made a joke and best cinematography for making Raw look well attended goes to Kevin Dunn, and I used the picture of a recent week of Raw. So not that episode of Raw, but from like a Raw in the last 2-3 weeks, I think, where there was a big section of the crowd empty. And a lot of people were like, oh, I was there. It was well attended last night. So the joke was, you got the wrong impression from the joke.
So is this episode of WrestleRamble us explaining jokes?
Yeah, it might be. They're funnier when you do. And
I feel like a thingy on The Simpsons. That's the joke.
Yeah. And then Miz says, but we couldn't have, the final award goes to me, the Miz, because I'm brilliant, but I couldn't have done it without Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns then walks out, stands there, and then Dean Ambrose walks out. Separate entrance music at this point, and separate attire, their usual ring attire. And then Seth Rollins walks out. The crowd are going nuts. Me, personally, I was very excited. I like seeing them together in an ass-kicking form. And they beat up everyone in the ring, Curtis Axel included, and did the Shield bomb.
Yeah, because a couple of people said that. Man, I was like, it's hashtag branding. You've got to get that brand over.
But it really... the first time it happened, I almost kidded myself, like I was in denial. Like, nah, he didn't say that. Nah, it's the triple powerbomb. He just got excited. It's the Shield. Michael Cole gets carried away when things like this happen. And then later on, when they did it to Braun, Michael Cole, Shield bomb. And
because that's the way they get branding over. You say it multiple times, and then people remember what it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what the highlight for me of this, though, was that... So here's the other thing that people have got really pissy about with this Shield reunion, is that it's just a way to get Roman cheered. Seemingly forgetting that the whole reason the Shield were put together in the first place was to get Roman over.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, and Roman was cheered when he came out. Like, everyone was like, oh, brilliant, Roman's here. And then everyone came out.
Well, they knew what was happening.
Exactly, they knew what was happening. Although, Michael Cole makes me hate Roman Reigns. I've realised what it is now. You know how I said Michael Cole when he goes, it's boss time? And I'm like, oh, God, shut up. You make me not want to like Sasha Banks. It's whenever he goes like, it's the big dog. It's Roman. I'm like, shut up, Michael Cole. Making me hate Roman Reigns. And there's another awful Michael Cole line here when he said, so when the Shield got back together and they started walking down to the ring, Michael Cole said, the Sheamus, Cesaro and Miz, they didn't expect this to happen. And I'm like, well, they're idiots then, because they targeted all three of them, all 4 members of the Shield. They had to have expected this would happen.
It's WWE trying to fabricate tension when but you shouldn't make your lead announcer appear, or your baby faces appear so phony, because we all know, like you said, you pointed out, it was quite obvious what was going to happen. If this was a more credible announcer, they go, what did you think was going to happen, Miz? You keep poking the bear, the Shield are going to reform, this is your comeuppance. And then you're like, yeah, babyface, I'm on the babyface's side. But that's not the sort of announcer Cole is.
Shield bomb.
So they did the fist bump and everything afterwards. So they spaffed all of the Shield spots first time back in the opening segment of Raw.
In all fairness, they have only got 2 weeks until TLC.
Yes, in all fairness, they have rushed their entire story. Yeah, you're right.
In all fairness, they could have built up a credible team, but they didn't.
Yeah, because it's just, why not I mean, obviously TLC doesn't have a marquee match otherwise, but this is a Survivor Series thing. I know. I guess you've got the 5-year anniversary of the competitive Shield debut. I believe it was TLC in 2012, but not
really. That's happened in December.
But it's the same event.
The same event.
You know what I mean? It's just... So here's the problem. It is just nostalgia. Because there is no... Like, who does this benefit? I get it benefits Reigns, but really... And merchandise sales. But it's not...
Come on to that in a bit.
It's not going to get the opponents over. It's not the way to elevate a new team. It's just a nostalgia pop. And it's a mentality that goes back to the WrestleMania main events for the last couple of years. Goldberg faces Brock Lesnar, or not the Undertaker versus Sting, Triple H versus Sting. People who have a very limited shelf life afterwards, and no one's elevating the other. Whereas the other argument would be to put an up-and-coming star and get the rub off them and use your Shield act to get over a new, more important act.
Yes.
And maybe that's what they'll do in a couple of months' time, and I really hope they do.
But you say that, but to me, the way that this... Perhaps it's just the way that they've told the story, of just that they've come together for no real reason whatsoever. This feels like it's a very short run.
Yes.
That, like, if I'm watching this, I'm getting past TLC, I'm like, they're not going to team together after that, because Roman's then going to go off and carry on his feud with The Miz, and Dean and Seth will carry on their feud with The Bar, separate from being as the Shield. This to me just feels like it's a one and done. But that's only because that's the story they've been telling.
I think it will extend out to Survivor Series. Just for because you can quite obviously see you've got a Team Shane versus Team Kevin scenario going on for Survivor Series. What does Raw have? You got a Team Shield in some respect, and then although who do you add to Team Shield if it's a 5-on-5? Someone said Samoa Joe on Twitter, and I was like, the Samoa Joes.
But even if it does lead to a Survivor Series match, which it very well could do. I still see them doing their separate entrances at Survivor Series because they're not the Shield there. They're part of a 5-man team, and they'll just do their separate entrances.
Yeah, we're not denying that it's a cool moment, and it is incredibly difficult to not get very excited when the Shield are back together.
Because they're awesome.
And booked well, because, when they take out Braun Strowman later, that was awesome. When they were just hounding on Strowman, even though it was a complete, three heels on one face dynamic, it felt like. I didn't care, because sometimes I just like badasses. This was a badass thing.
I thought it was so cool.
It was so cool. But then it is just a superficial nostalgia pop, because where's the context beneath it? There's nothing building into it. It's this empty nostalgia thing. So we're cool as an isolated moment. But yeah, the things that we're fans of, which is long-term character development, long-term storylines that pay off and get other people over, and just stories in general. This is pretty much isolated from all those other things.
Yeah.
The trickier, more fundamental aspects.
I agree. Yeah.
So that's a shame. Next up, we have
nothing else really happened. Well, no, nothing else really happened on this show. I mean, we could more or less just end the review here because
skip to the end.
Skip to the end.
Well, we got the Braun Strowman bit.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
Well, I think we will effectively skip through a lot of these bits. There's not much to say at all.
No.
Jason Jordan beat Carl Anderson.
So it did 2 sweet chants throughout. This was very much a Bullet Club heavy town because Balor was getting them as well.
Booker T, I haven't heard him say Fave 5 for a while. Has he been doing this?
No, he's not been doing this for a while.
Or did he just bring it back in this match?
It just feels so weird because we've just done the Money in the Bank 2011 review, which is when he first started really doing the Fave 5 things. He'd only just started doing colour commentary. It almost feels like they're listening to us.
Yeah, because the Sami Zayn thing you predicted, you booked that.
I did book that, because I said that on a show. They clearly watched this show, and then, I mean, it's obvious, really.
Yeah, and just wait, that I booked the Dolph Ziggler thing.
Yes, you did.
Not WWE. I booked it.
You booked it, yeah.
And just wait when Nia Jax comes out to my cover. We've got an in. So yes, this was a good match though. Jordan and Anderson.
Yeah.
Anderson is such a good wrestler.
So good.
So such a solid worker. But he never gets a chance to show it, really.
No, if only they were part of a 3-man team that could have taken on the Shield, but,
Because he really would be the workhorse in there.
I know, it'd be so awesome. But yeah, I thought this was a fine match. The most infuriating thing about this match, really, was just the commentators bickering amongst each other, because, Michael Cole and Corey Graves are kind of egging on Booker T because, you hate Jason Jordan. because that's what Booker's gimmick has been for the past few weeks. And then they just kind of just bicker amongst each other. It's like, oh, I don't hate him, he's one of my faves. But that's not what you've been saying these past few weeks. Ignoring the match, just bickering amongst themselves. It's infuriating to listen to.
Well, WWE doesn't care about what happened last week. It's quite. I think it's it's quite a famous Vince McMahon quote. It was like, well, they're wrestling fans. They forget. They forget story elements, but we don't. The internet contingent. Well, not the internet contingent. That's kind of outdated because a lot of people have the internet these days.
Yep.
But the people, the more obsessive part of the fan base like us, we remember. The North remembers.
I remember.
Elias was next up doing his fantastic sing-along shtick. But do not sing along. Hold the applause to the end, all that lovely stuff. And then Titus comes out with a banjo and murders a song, but it's all quite fun and jovial.
Yep.
And Apollo Crews comes out and they have the third match in about 3 weeks. And Elias wins again.
This is a Groundhog Day feud, and Elias has beaten every single one of them. These two are chumps. This feud sucks.
So you can't see it, and I'm not going to show it to you, but I can see Luke's notes out the corner of my eye. And there's a lot of swear words in there, isn't there? This feud is effing Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Later on, F Kevin Dunn.
Yeah.
Later on, get effed in the women's bit. What the F is this theme song for TLC?
In all fairness, though, what the F is, that's it, that theme song for TLC.
It's usually by Machine Gun Kelly.
It's so bad.
I can't remember it.
It's okay. That shows you how bad it is. But the other thing, actually, I wanted to notice about Elias, and it's this really weird thing where, because they're not really having these babyfaces and heels, that's kind of the WWE decree now. We don't have babyface and heels, we just have characters. Which then means that Michael Cole, your babyface announcer, your lead announcer, keeps putting over how great Elias is. And it's like, I like this Elias, I think he's awesome. Despite the fact that Elias is clearly the heel that's making the crowd boo. And he's like, he's so good. He's great. I love his songs. I think his songs are brilliant. And then Titus comes out and he's like, oh, this idiot. Titus is ruining everything. He's the baby face.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's just like, I think it's a really weird dynamic.
It's inconsistent. It's definitely not the way I would do it. And traditionally, it's not the way that works.
And like this feud is just not getting anyone over. And Corey...
It's getting Elias over.
I don't think
he wins every match.
Yeah, but who's he beating?
There,
He's beating chumps. Like it's not actually getting him over. Like his feud with Finn should have been elevating him, and it's done nothing. In fact, it's just pushed him further down.
I must say though, Elias did have one of my favourite spots of the night, and that's out of nowhere when he had Apollo Crews by the wrist, and he walked up onto the top rope. And he walked with Elias. He did Undertaker's old school move, and I just, when you think. I didn't think of that.
It's clever.
That's good.
And that's great as well, because if The Undertaker's retired, that's a great spot. Move it on to someone else.
Yeah, so I did really like that moment in the match. But overall, yes, this is a horrible holding period. Braun Strowman was up next against Matt Hardy. This is sort of the continuing rehabilitation of Braun Strowman after his No Mercy loss against Brock Lesnar. And he needs it. Braun Strowman really does have a lot of potential. So you do have to sacrifice guys like Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy here was just sacrificed in quite a dominating fashion to Strowman, but Strowman kicked out of the Twist of Fate at 1.
At 1.
Yeah. Which makes Strowman look awesome. And it doesn't really harm Matt Hardy because we know Strowman's awesome. This is his character.
Yeah, and also Matt had an amazing comeback on Braun. Braun sold his comeback so brilliant. Like Matt's got great babyface fire, and his comeback was brilliant. I got into it, and then when he hit the Twist of Fate, I was like, that's a great moment, and that doesn't hurt Matt with a kick out.
So I think this should have been the main event.
Oh yeah,
yeah, for the entire show. I know they don't.
We'd had the title switch though.
Yes, but I wouldn't have done the title switch. So I guess I'm in a bit of a chicken egg situation.
Yeah.
But I thought this was a match worthy of a main event. Matt Hardy, who yes has not been on, he hasn't lived up to the potential since he's come to WWE because of all the legal troubles with Impact or GFW or whatever, and he can't use the broken gimmick. But having Matt Hardy, you run a few video packages throughout the night about his long and storied career with WWE, and then Braun Strowman, how he's this unstoppable monster. I think that's a solid, sellable main event. Like that, to use an old boxing mentality, people would buy that main event on like a B show. But it was just in the middle of Raw to set up a Shield angle. I'm not down on the Shield angle. I loved it, but wouldn't that have been so much better at the end of the show?
I did wonder, I did find it surprising that they just did the Shield thing right at the start of the show. I thought they were going to build it throughout the show, build anticipation, really build that crowd up, build that furor up, because then everyone's like, oh wow, the Shield are getting around together. But they're like, nope, they're here they are, and they're back together. We'll do this little angle here 20 minutes later, and then that's all the Shield action you're getting.
Yeah, because
the Cruiserweights are coming up later.
If you look at any other, like really good television shows, I was going to say Walking Dead, but that's not always amazing, but Game of Thrones and stuff, you don't put your massive cliffhanger main event bit in the opening scene. And there's a reason for that. Like, where bits are scheduled within a show in its structure does really order the importance in the viewer's mind.
And you'd think they'd know that, because they don't make wrestling shows, they make movies.
Exactly. So, yeah, it does that, like you said, that opening Shield reunion, it's just like, oh, it was in the opening segment. It's like we are conditioned to go, oh yeah, but it was the opening segment, so that's where they usually do the 15-minute throwaway in-ring promos. My
thinking behind that is that, because WWE have got this worry that they tune into the start shows, but they don't stick around for the end of it, because they don't. That's evident. There's that massive third-hour drop-off. There's usually a second-hour drop-off. So they kind of want to do all of their big stuff in that first hour before football kicks off. So then that's all. So once you've watched that, you've essentially watched what they want you to see, and then the rest of the show is just filler until it finishes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you're not saying.
I'm not saying that's a good thing.
You're trying to explain them.
Yeah.
My rebuttal to that would be make a good show that everyone wants to stick around for the whole 2 hours.
Make a show that people don't want to switch over to football for.
So after this match, which was a pretty decent match between Strowman and Hardy, Braun isn't done with him, so he picks up Matt. Matt is just like dead weight carcass on Braun's body. It looked awesome. And he's walking up the ramp. I'm going to do bad things to you. And then the Shield, all three of them are just standing there. And then I'm just like, oh God.
And their new T-shirts.
With their new T-shirts.
They got made up within that last, that 20 minutes that they were together.
It's like it's pre-planned. and Braun just like chucks Matt to one side, and you can kind of see Matt run off, like, oh, I'm not getting involved with Strowman, and the Shield just 3-on-1 attack him. Like I said, traditionally that's a heel move, but sometimes you just want to cheer the badasses, and that's what it looked like. And it brought back so many fond memories of the Shield just intimidating people back in the day.
It was great. I mean, you did note down that I've written F Kevin Dunn, and that was in this segment
for the camera
because
work.
The camera work is just zoom. I don't like the way that Kevin Dunn does things sometimes.
Yeah, well,
a lot of the time.
I don't think it adds anything.
No, it doesn't.
I think
it makes it vomit-inducing.
Yeah, I don't see why you. I get the reasoning on paper. You want to visually convey the chaotic nature of what's happening, but making a man swing his hand around the zoom lens, I don't think is the most effective way. I think just to have the camera flat and watch the chaos in front of you.
Yeah.
You can sort of make up your own mind. It's the same. It really is that zoom in stuff. Remember Sheamus's chops on the chest, and they do it for that. The Cesaro swing, another infuriating example, and the crowd reaction shots where he focuses on one person in the crowd. I'm like, don't tell me how I should feel. Just let me watch the thing, and I'll feel the thing that I want to feel.
Especially because they cut to the crowd during like entrances and stuff. They'll pick like 20 people out of the crowd, and then they'll cut to them. Always cut to them at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you
phone.
I guarantee that when he's like cut to camera 3, just before he said that, they were doing something like singing along with the theme music or like cheering with their friend. But as soon as they cut to them, they're just like, "Oh yeah, so have you seen what's going on over here?" It's like, "Oh well, great. That looks like that person doesn't care now."
The conspiracy theorist in me. Maybe they've got a few
plants.
No, a few pre-recorded facial reactions. Yeah, record that one. We'll get that later. So really cool beatdown from the Shield on Strowman, and they chaotically clear the announcers table and give him the Shield bomb.
Shield bomb.
Shield bomb.
With your new T-shirt.
Through the table. And Strowman just rolls off, doesn't he? He doesn't stay there. Just big man. Someone sent me a Snapchat of his. So I don't know if it's a recent one. I assume it is. He's just talking to the camera, as people on Snapchat, these young people do. And he goes, "I'm just at Walmart, and check it out. I've got my new grocery mobile. And he pans his phone from him to this very expensive looking sports car in the car park of Walmart. And he just makes this sound, which is like, yeah. But unfortunately, I didn't see him making the sound. They were dissociated things.
Braun Strowman, when he's on TV and he's just like, I'm not finished with you, I'm the monster among men, I want to be in the TLC match. And then you see him like in the Avenged Sevenfold video where he's there just like a kid at Christmas going like, woohoo, Avenged Sevenfold!
With his top off and ring on the side of the stage. Yeah, he seems like such a... I would love to hang out with Braun Strowman.
I think he'd be an absolute blast to hang out with.
Yeah, just a few beers, you know, maybe go for a steak.
With Braun Strowman, though, I bet you it's not just a few beers.
Well,
he's a big lad.
Yeah, he would outpace me quickly.
And you're rubbish at things.
Yep, I'm not very good at handling my liquor. But that doesn't stop me from trying. So after this, again, it was nostalgia rather than anything underneath, but hats off. It's very, very flipping cool nostalgia.
Although I would argue that this one made slightly more sense because Roman's had his issues with him, and then Braun's beaten up both Dean and Seth. Although they did put themselves into that position, it's not like Braun targeted them; they volunteered for it.
Sure, yeah. And there was another bit. The other element of it is we're the Shield. This is our fight, and we're baby faces, and you're not just gonna bully Matt Hardy. It was, some
the Hounds
heroes.
of Justice.
Yeah, it was the Hounds of Justice standing up to a bully.
Yeah,
and that's one of my favorite go-to narratives in wrestling. Standing up to the bully, which is but yes, after this, Miz backstage with Kurt Angle says, I'm going to add a fourth person to my team at the TLC main event. And Kurt's like, well, you can't do that because it's a 3-on-3. And then Braun just beats up a door. He enters it. I'm surprised the door didn't smash through the wall and then reclose itself on the other side. And he's just like, yeah, okay, well, can't do anything about that.
If it were me directing this, I'd have had him literally kick the door out of the frame.
I'd
have gimmicked it so it just like person, or even better, focus on the door and then he comes through the wall.
Shockmaster style.
Just going,
yeah. Oh, that would have been good. I mean, it would have been too funny. So that it probably wouldn't have been the best idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is good. That's sort of like a KFC commercial spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
So next up, we have Mickie James and Alexa Bliss continuing another week of a good build.
This is awesome. Honestly, I love this feud. I'm so excited for this feud. And it's amazing to think I'm excited for this feud, considering these two can't have a good match together. That has been proven in the past. But I'm so excited. I'm so into this feud. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, the promo work between them has been terrific. Mickie James, her delivery of what is a pretty standard script, I suppose, is very, very effective. Mm-hmm. I think she's very good at that. And Alexa Bliss's Stars of Yesteryear, I thought was very funny. It was like a little newsreel clip of, here from the 1940s, the fighting women of the WWF or the WWE, and yeah, it was all of Mickie James highlight reels from 10 years ago. It was very well done. A lot of people get annoyed about the idea of calling out Mickie James's age because they're like, why would you do that? Why would you point out that your wrestlers are over the hill, essentially? That's what you're saying. I don't have a problem with it because Mickie James is getting her receipt immediately in every segment.
Yeah.
So Alexa Bliss will do something horrible and annoying. Mickie James just doesn't stand there like Bayley and Sasha Banks have been booked to do in the past. She'll go, yep, I'm going to fight you now. Yeah. She'll run out the ring and beat up Alexa, and Alexa would run off with her tail between her legs. That is very good babyface booking. I don't know why WWE don't do it more.
I don't know either, but I'm so into this feud at the moment.
Also, I had to Google this. We looked it up earlier. Biscuit butt.
Yeah, you didn't know what it meant.
You didn't either.
No, I did not know it either. I just instantly assumed it meant crumbly and delicious.
So Mickie James referred to Bliss as, like, get your biscuit butt in here. And then there was like a biscuit butt chant. And yeah, so that's what you thought.
Crumbly and delicious.
We looked it up. It means a small but lifted butt. Cute and in shape. Which doesn't really work as an insult.
Doesn't really sound like much of an insult, to be honest.
Alexa Bliss, you have a really nice ass. Now get in here, please. It's really, really nice to look at.
So like last week when she insulted her for wearing a training bra, my favourite one of that actually was Nia Jax posted the clip with like as a quoted retweet going like, "Ha! Our champ wears a training bra."
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
It's classic Nia.
Classic Nia.
Classic Nia.
Best friends, obviously.
Jack Gallagher and Brian Kendrick beat Cedric
That's fine.
Alexander
We'll
and
talk about it in a minute.
Mustafa Ali next.
I was going to talk about the backstage segment. We'll talk about it when we get to the match.
Which one?
Well,
the Enzo.
No. There's a backstage segment where they had a promo for Asuka, another amazing promo for Asuka. These promos for Asuka, I had my issues with them at the start, but they've really picked this up. I had my concerns. My concerns were alleviated. I'm willing to admit that I was wrong to have those concerns in the first place. Well, maybe I wasn't wrong because it very well could have been.
WWE's track
record, yeah. But I'm so glad now that it's changed. Awesome. But then it cuts backstage, and then you've got the girls. The girls, I hate saying that. You've got like Bailey and Sasha, the knockouts, the divas. They're standing there and they're asking to have the match with Asuka at TLC. These girls shouldn't be excited.
Yeah.
These girls shouldn't be like, oh, it's going to be great when Asuka gets here. No, you're supposed to be scared. No one goes like, oh, it's going to be brilliant when Brock Lesnar comes back so I can get into the ring and be F5'd by him. No, you're supposed to be scared that they're coming back.
Well, they're excited that he's got a championship that they can go for. But Asuka's got nothing to... I guess unless you play it up as... I want to show her that I'm better than her.
But it's not. They're just like,
they didn't
I can't wait to have a match with Asuka. No, you're not. You're meant to be scared. She's
Asuka's gonna kill you.
She's a terrifying presence. Yeah. Like, why would anyone want this match? And then at one point, I think it was Alicia Fox, worst actor on Raw, comes in and is like, I've been here for 10 years. I deserve this match. I'm like, deserve? What do you want to deserve this match? Deserve to get your head kicked off? Why would you want that?
Yeah, and it was just a bad segment. Like, content, as you pointed out, was really bad. It was so robotic.
Standing in a line.
They're not good at doing WWE scripts. It was painful to watch.
So surely character motivation for Bailey would have been to go up to Kurt Angle and said, look, I lost my NXT Women's Championship to Asuka, and that was when her championship reign started. I know that I can beat her, and I want to prove that I can beat her in the ring. That's great character motivation. Not just like, God, it's so exciting that Asuka's coming here. I really wish I could have a match with her.
Yeah, I guess in their defense, in the players' defense, in the actual scene, this was probably only written 5 minutes before it happened because, as has been reported, there was a lot of last-minute rewrites during the actual show on Raw because of various things, and one of which was the women's match, which had originally it was meant to be a three-way between Jax, Emma, and Fox. Then it was moved to next week. Then it was brought back and made a fatal five-way, and then made an elimination match, which you can tell by Cole getting mucked. He mucks up what the rules are in the actual match.
Yeah, I wasn't keen on this whatsoever. And actually, someone messaged me on Twitter to say that, like, because Emma won the match, which we'll come on to a little bit later. I was like, wasn't Emma like one of Asuka's first feuds in NXT? And I was like, yeah, her first feud which came in was
a great match at NXT TakeOver London.
Absolutely, yeah. But like her first feud when it came in was between Dana and Emma when they were Bezzy mates, and it was great because that storyline that told there was that Emma and Dana were bullying Asuka because they were like, oh, you're the new girl on the block. We run this place. We're the people that you want to be beating up. And this is going to be brilliant. This will be a cakewalk for us. Until they saw what Asuka could do. And then they were like, oh, we've made a terrible error. And now we're going to get our head kicked off. That's a great way to debut someone and to like let people know this is what you can expect.
Yeah. Jack Gallagher and Brian Kendrick beat Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali
to a dead crowd.
Anything to say here?
No, the finish came out of nowhere. I felt like it was just about to get started and then it ended.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they did have this match, as sort of useless as it was, because it did remind everyone, oh, Gallagher and Kendrick are heels, Mustafa Ali is a good guy, and that does play into the main event, which was such a good match, I thought. So it was useful in that respect. Finn Balor came out next and did some awful dialogue in the ring, awfully scripted, awfully delivered. I love Finn Balor as a wrestler. He can't speak, though. Why do you keep on putting him in live positions where he can't do retakes or anything like that? But it was about to get a bit more weird.
Yeah, so remember last week when Sister Abigail was a really intriguing prospect?
And we thought, it could have been any number of things, like all these people from NXT that might get called up, maybe someone else. Very exciting. they went with the worst option.
Yeah.
Which was Bray Wyatt. It pretty much reveals himself as Sister Abigail. It's a new character that he dresses up as and has a silly voice for. They put his voice through a something that changes your voice into a high-pitched devil-like noise.
Essentially, he's doing Norman Bates in Psycho.
Yes.
They, in fact, even use the line, "He wouldn't hurt a fly," which is what Norman says when he's channeling Mrs. Bates.
The other thing was, the first week, I was really struck by the transition of Bray into Sister Abigail, because it was very foggy in the promo that they filmed, and I could not tell where the cut point was. It was like all of a sudden, Bray became Sister Abigail, and I was like, wow. And that was one of the things that got me so excited. This week, Bray's talking to the camera, and it's this crappy Windows Movie Maker ripple, like, you know, when you drop a drop of water in a pond, and that ripple effect.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and his face became Sister Abigail. I was like, it looks like I edited it. You're meant to be really good. Like, you do such good jobs on the promo packages and everything. That's what I would do when I was rushed for time. Jeez.
This is bad. This is the sort of segment then, like, as wrestling fans, we are kind of a very small niche market that we enjoy watching wrestling, and then we get a lot of people coming like, "Oh, why do you like wrestling? Wrestling's for idiots. Wrestling's for stupid people." And you're like, no, it's really cool. And then something like this comes on, and you're like, "Oh yeah, wrestling is stupid sometimes, isn't it?"
Yeah. They are really dedicated rather, to destroy Bray Wyatt this year. They keep on saddling him with awful gimmick after awful gimmick.
Year.
House of Horrors, projections, and now dressing him up as Sister Abigail. There's nothing wrong with cross-dressing. I'm not saying it's not working though. He's a really good character.
Well, I was going to say,
he's a cult leader.
The problem, okay, so what you're saying, you're absolutely right. There is nothing wrong with cross-dressing, but this is not going to help his character. What his character doesn't need is a cross-dressing gimmick.
Yeah.
That's probably the last thing that his character needs right now is a cross-dressing gimmick. It's just not going to work for him. That's not going to help him get over. I guarantee you, come TLC, this is stupid. This is stupid. Guarantee it.
It's, I cannot see it working.
And if that happens, then I booked that.
You booked it. You booked the crowd. Yes, and then we had Emma, the alluded to match earlier. Emma beat Alicia Fox, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Dana Brooke in an elimination match, not a fatal five-way.
God bless Corey Graves. I felt like I was so angry during that backstage promo, and then all of my anger was like channeled through back in time because I watched this on a replay into Corey Graves, who then just kept saying, "I don't know why these girls were excited to face Asuka. They should be terrified." And I'm like, thank you, Corey Graves. Someone gets it.
I think Corey, because he's been really, really good at this sort of stuff, but specifically in the last couple of weeks. I don't know if it's because we've noticed it and now we notice it more. The reticular activating device, it's called in your head. Or...
Again, good word use.
Yeah, well, phrase use, I guess, concept use. Or it's because he's just thought, nah, I'm sick of this. I'm going to start doing good commentating.
I'm just going to Bobby Heenan this.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say, Vince. Yeah. I'm going to tell you what I think is going on.
I'm going to tell you credible stuff.
Yeah.
Because I do not want to be chipped away at like Tom Phillips.
I was going to say, there was a point in here as well where Booker kept openly laughing. And I was like, I'm not sure if it's something that Corey has said that's made him laugh, or it's just the Sister Abigail thing has just caught up with him. And he's like, man, that was stupid.
Yeah, that's my low five.
Yeah.
Banks and Bayley continue to tease a bit of dissension, but who cares at this point, really? I don't care about either of them, let alone them feuding.
Well, yeah, I mean, so Alicia Fox was very bad in this match.
This was a very bad match.
Yeah, but Alicia Fox in particular was very bad because there was one thing that really irked me, which she's walking down to the ring, and in her backstage promo she had with Emma, she was like, "I'm mad at you because you walked out on me during last week's tag team match." You're like, okay, so that's step one of a storyline. Now we've had step two of a storyline where she's addressed that she's angry. Now they're about to be in a match together. So what's the first thing that Fox does? Ignore Emma and goes after Bayley. And Emma's just standing there, and I'm like, you've been doing this for 10 years. That's a basic thing to do. Especially when you've got the commentators going like, she's really got her issues with Emma at the moment. I bet you she can't wait to get her hands on her.
Yeah, and there was a botch later on where the referee didn't, I think it was Fox tapping into Banks, but the referee didn't call it, and then he was just like, no, you're eliminated. So it's that everyone executed this poorly, but a little bit of the blame is alleviated because it does sound like they were only told what was happening maybe even, right up as the match.
I was going to say, putting on my tinfoil conspiracy hat, it does feel that just before they went out, they were like, oh, by the way, we're going to make this an elimination match now. And they had no time to prep that elimination match. They had to go there, call it in the ring. Some inexperienced people in there not being able to call stuff in the ring. Whole thing fell apart. This match was sloppy.
Yeah,
all over the show. But I don't blame them.
Dana Brooke has unfortunately gotten worse. Those somersaults just seemed off time. So maybe what happened, because the story is, like I said, it was meant to be the triple threat. Then that triple threat was moved to next week in favour of a 6-woman tag this week. And then it was made the fatal 5-way, and then maybe an elimination 5-way. Maybe they did the first 3 steps of that, and they were like, okay, let's actually have the match this week. And then Neville walks out. And they're like, oh my God, all the concentration's on Neville. And then they're trying to figure out what to do there. And then they've also got to fix the women's. And that's the afterthought. And that's why we've had such a terrible match here. Because, 3 of the 5 women in this are incredibly good wrestlers. But it just, maybe they didn't have time to book it.
I feel really bad for them, to be honest. Again, actually, this is another copy and paste from the last 2 weeks as well, where your third hour is Finn and Bray, multi-woman match, and then the Cruiserweights. Just copy and paste from the previous week, just chop and change a few things around.
But, to their credit, the Cruiserweight division has been working. Enzo Amore is actually a draw, a quantifiable draw. 205 Live has not been in the top 10 for months. I don't know how many months, but it's very routinely beaten by not only that week's NXT, but usually WrestleMania that year, which is always around the top in the most watched shows on the network every week.
Imagine wanting to rewatch this year's WrestleMania. And actually, it was a good show. It was just really... I suppose you can watch it in chunks.
But the 205 Live last week, when Enzo was finally, on this really good heel run, I think it's about 2 weeks in of his heel run, of his championship run, it was at number 7.
Yeah.
Enzo was doing well. This match here, the last hour, performed way better than anyone thought it would on Monday nights. And you got to give, they didn't tease anything else for the Shield. That's Enzo in the main event. He's a money draw. Who would have thought it? And he's doing it brilliantly. He is genuinely good to watch. But then something seems to have happened when Neville walked out before Raw. Don't know what he's unhappy about, but that's, I'd
imagine his booking.
Yeah, but when one site reports something, you're like, well, you've got Wrestling Observer, Pro Wrestling Sheet, PW Insider, PW Torch, I guess, at the top 4. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting anyone. And if one of them reports it and the others aren't, you're like, well, there's maybe something there. If 2 of them are reporting it, you're like, oh, okay. If pretty much all of them are reporting it, you're like, this is what's happened.
Yeah.
And Neville appears to have walked out. I mean, by the time this goes up, WWE could have put out a statement saying Neville's been released, yada, yada, yada. And we're like, oh, well, the news is outdated as well now. And the Neville reportedly walked out of Raw before. He was meant to face Enzo in a non-title match in a lumberjack match for the main event. Because you can't challenge Enzo for the title at the moment because of what happened. But they never walked out, and they moved the Kalisto match from TLC to here because no one else could really go against him. Well, I guess you could.
Could have done anyone, really.
Yeah, because it's a non-title match. But they chose to bring Kalisto forward, who won the belt off Enzo, which is way too soon. Enzo should have had the belt till WrestleMania. I don't care.
I said the exact same thing to you yesterday, which is that, Enzo should have been champion for so long. If this is the character they're going to be running with, and it's working, because 205 Live, people are actually tuning in to watch that show now, Enzo's right. And a heel is at its best when they are right. But they're doing it in a manner that makes them a heel. And Enzo's great in this role. He's a natural heel. And
he's a natural babyface too.
He's a natural babyface,
but he's so good at talking.
And people were starting to get genuinely interested. I just couldn't believe they just took the belt off him this quickly. For probably no reason, really. And if you're Neville, you go into Raw and you're told, by the way, you're being booked into the main event and you're going to lose against Enzo. You're like, I'm better than he is. And this is going to completely kill my credibility. I'm off. I'm out of here. And then, so the first thing you do is just like, we'll do, almost as an act of revenge, we're going to put the belt on someone else then. We're going to take you out of that and we're going to put the belt on someone else. See how you like them apples.
Or it was a panic move.
I
don't know what's happened. You don't know what's happened, do you? But I would have assumed it being a lumberjack match, which was a brilliant gimmick because it ties so much into how Enzo's treated the cruiserweight division. They're all outside. I thought it was brilliant.
Would have been better on pay-per-view, but yeah.
Yeah, but Neville could have lost quite dirty there. Like, Enzo doesn't have to go over clean, and you protect Neville, and that all works, and you further the feud. So, yeah, I have no idea.
Can you imagine if he does go, that they've driven out their two biggest cruiserweights within the space of a few months of each other? It's
crazy.
Austin Aries and now driven out Neville.
So the actual match, however, I thought was terrific.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Really, I loved this match because Enzo is good at trash talking and he's great at facials. But he's not good at wrestling. So this allowed him to do a few moves and then sort of trash talk to the other cruiserweights outside as lumberjacks. Like one of my favourite Enzo matches is against The Miz when they were both cutting promos on each other during the match. It was really, really good.
It's that old Paul Heyman thing. Hide the weaknesses,
Yes.
accentuate the positives.
And you also had another secondary story on the outside where you had the heel contingent of cruiserweights, Jack Gallagher, Brian Kendrick, and Arai Daivari, is it? Mm-hmm. And everyone else sort of going against them, particularly Mustafa Ali, who I thought, just the way he behaved was really, really good. Enzo particularly trashed him at one point and then kicked him. So later on, after this brilliant superplex spot to the outside, it looked amazing. Enzo had Kalisto beat, and it was Mustafa Ali who pulled him out. And the look on, you go back and watch it, the look on Enzo's face is just Academy Award of Wrestling winning acting. Mm-hmm. It's superb. And then that's when Enzo ran back in, and Kalisto won.
Yeah. I was just really surprised at the ending, to be honest. Really surprised at the ending.
And sad. It was, you had something with Enzo there, and this is going to harm it.
Yeah.
It's a Smackdown review, Michael. I love it. We got us a flying Uso.
On Sunday night, SmackDown had what might have been my favourite WWE pay-per-view of the year with Hell in a Cell. I thought it was a terrific show. How were they going to continue that momentum? They kicked off with a bang with the tag team segment. So after their terrific Hell in a Cell match, the New Day and the Usos were in the ring, and the Usos effectively said, "You're great, we're great. Respect."
Yeah.
Truce.
Usos so damn good, selling their injuries from the previous night, looking like they had been through war. New Day, not pros, just coming out like they normally would.
No. The people in the match were limping around.
Oh, no, they were still doing their bouncing around.
No,
I don't think they sold their injuries.
They were very obviously limping, but Kofi was jumping around, which he shouldn't have been doing because he did lose the tag team titles. I would have preferred just the serious walk down.
Yeah.
But I disagree with them.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes, and then they had this nice moment, but of course, them saying we are the best tag teams, we are the tag division, all the other ones suck. That brought out all the other tag teams, which SmackDown has some, apparently. So we had the Hype Bros, we had Breezango, Ascension, and...
Gable and Jordan. Gable and Benjamin.
And Benjamin, yes. If only they were still together. And Breezango got a huge pop.
Huge pop for Breezango, my boys.
We talked about it earlier. When Breezango come out, and then the Ascension come out, and they, the Ascension like, we're pretty good too. And you can just hear Tyler Breeze go, "Why are you following us everywhere?"
So good.
But because the camera wasn't on him, it felt so funny and spontaneous.
I also loved it when the Usos were kind of running down all the tag teams, and they ran them down until they got to the Breezango. They're like, "Now you guys are all right."
Yeah, it's kind of like what Enzo does with Akira Tozawa.
Yeah.
Runs down everyone. "Now, you said you like me on Twitter. You're cool, man." That's a really good running joke.
He's like, Hype Bros, locked down.
And back of the line.
Yeah, back of the line. And then Breezango's like, "Now you guys are fine. I like the Fashion Files."
Yeah. And the crowd were really behind Breezango. And you know what? Breezango and the Usos had a really good comedy match at... You know what? I think I might be right for once. I think it is Backlash this year.
Yeah.
And you remember it? Really good comedy match.
Great.
With that excellent spot where Breeze kept on rolling between the turnbuckles.
So good.
It got a bit gimmicky with the various costumes, but you know what? They're so over now. They can get away with it.
I really hope we get to see that Fashion File segment that they teased on Sunday.
Yeah, so that didn't happen. The fashion, Pulp Fashion.
Pulp Fashion, yeah. It's coming on Tuesday.
2 weeks in a row, they've not delivered on my Fashion Files. And I like my Fashion Files. But yes, this... now, Daniel Bryan then came out and cut a very angry... everyone's there like, yes, we love you, Daniel. Daniel Bryan might have almost pretty much said, shut up, people. Shut up, fans. And you two fan favourites in the crowd, get out the ring. And like the Usos are like, well, what are you talking about? No, get out the ring now.
Yeah, and he just had this great line where he was like, not tonight of all nights, just get out the ring, get out of my ring. It was great because I was like, he's selling the storyline of Shane, Kevin, and Sammy. This is awesome. I hope this pays off later in the show.
It felt like there was chaos backstage,
Yeah.
and that manifests through Daniel here. And he was like, "What? Get out the ring. We're having the number one contenders match to decide the next one." And that also warmed my heart because as much as I love the New Day and the Usos, it's done now.
Yeah,
They've had their time, and I was worried that the Usos called them out there to say, "Let's go one more time."
Yeah.
After the Hell in a Cell, you want it after the definitive end to a feud.
Yeah.
This isn't Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor. You can't just do it again with face paint. Bring back the Usos face, the paint stuff they had. So we then got the 4-way number one contenders match, and I thought it was a cracking match.
Really enjoyed this, yeah.
Really fun. Not like a wrestling mat classic, but it was a fun match.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And it had still kept all multiple stories going. So the Hype Bros, bit of dissension there. I'm caring less and less every week, though. And Breezango, the Ascension and Breezango were kind of... The Ascension would help Breezango occasionally.
Oh, it was great. And the commentators were doing a really good job of putting that over as well. I actually really got into the ending sequence when you had Breezango with Gable and
That
Benjamin.
was a really good near fall.
Wasn't there just? Like,
Because Breeze nearly won it.
Yeah,
the crowd were really into
I was really into the
Yeah.
near falls and like the moment. And as a good match was, I was like, I'm not sure. I'm like in my mind, I'm like, I think that Chad and Benjamin are winning here. But then I was like, but the Fashion Police may just take this, They're so over that they may go in that direction.
Yeah, it was really good. And the Ascension can be seen carrying Breezango out afterwards.
You and I then had a bit of a fantasy booking warfare, like a little mini one when we were in the control room, talking about like, this is going to be a great babyface run now for the Ascension, where all they want to be is best friends with the Fashion Police. So they just want to be friends with them. So they're going to be, they've taken them away, they were helping them out in the match, and they're going to be this like foursome of friendship, which will then lead to a big Ascension heel turn and rebuild their characters as monster heels again. That's great. That's brilliant. If that's the direction they're going, hats off. That's awesome. Because that just all of that, you could say all the damage you've done to them when you turn them into comedy goofballs, all of that is erased and they come back looking stronger than ever. That's awesome.
Yeah, because as soon as the Ascension appeared, I think it was in the closet in Breezango's first Fashion Files, I thought, well, they're never recovering from that.
They're done.
But hey, now, after we booked it, if WWE did it, we booked it, we told them, that this is a genuine way you can get the crowd behind the Ascension, emotionally invested in the Ascension, and then boo them because the Ascension would turn on something that the crowd wanted, and that's Breezango and the Ascension together, much like Big Cass and Enzo.
And if that is the storyline selling, I'm glad they're dropping the 2B storyline, and this could be a great story for them to get into.
But I want that for a long time.
Yeah.
I want that for like 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, they won't do it for that long.
They
though.
won't. No. It'll be over in a week. It'll be done next week.
Next week they'll do it. They're having a match at Survivor Series.
Yeah. But yes, not Jordan. Did it wrong again. Gable and Benjamin won. So they're the number one contenders. Very happy with that. Gable's a great promo. Benjamin's not a great promo, but he's a good wrestler. And the Usos will definitely carry their side of both bargains. They are all-rounders.
Absolutely, yeah. Because someone messaged me this morning saying, do you think that they can have a great series of matches like the New Day had? And I was like, absolutely, because the Usos are great. Shelton Benjamin's awesome, and Chad Gable is like another level of greats. Like, they should have an absolutely amazing series.
So really looking forward to that. But unfortunately, so that first tag segment after I was going to say the tag division hasn't been good on SmackDown for ages, but that's a lie because that main feud was. But the tag division as a whole,
two teams have been good.
Yeah. But that, for me, that opening tag division of SmackDown was flawless. I couldn't have asked for anything better. It gave me everything I wanted and stuff I didn't know that I wanted to.
Yeah,
perfect. That's where it ended. That's where SmackDown stopped. Because then and I was like, oh my God, they've got all this Hell in a Cell momentum. Ryan Ward's back in control backstage. here we are. SmackDown. This is going to be a great show. Everything else was really disappointed me or was average after this.
I agree.
So Becky Lynch next beat Carmella in a 5-minute fart.
Pretty good little match. But yeah, that's about it.
Just didn't really mean anything. Backstage beforehand, Natalya was gloating about how she beat Charlotte, and then, oh, look, it's Charlotte behind her. They have a scuffle backstage, which is fine, I guess. Then we had...
Oh, sorry, actually, there was another backstage moment that made me howl with laughter, I'll be honest, which is Dasha Fuentes, who I'm not sure which of the robots she is, but she's not one of the good ones. And she was standing outside Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's locker, and she's like, I hope I can get an interview. Knock, knock, knock. They're not answering. I guess we'll find out later.
Yeah.
And it was the delivery so flat, no emotion. I mean, man alive, I get stick on YouTube videos for having no charisma, but yeah, I look like Enzo compared to some of this lot.
I did like the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens joint locker room, though. I thought that I couldn't make it. I wanted to make a joke out of that in the review, but I couldn't find the right one. I even got a screenshot and everything, hoping it would come later, but that's on the cutting pile.
And poor old Becky is still rudderless.
Yeah. But next up, we had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn with an in-ring promo. And I was like, well, this is what I'm waiting for. The women's bit was fine just then. The tag division was flawless. I thought, here we go. This is what they need to follow up on. And it was just a very good promo. And you know what? Any other week, a very good promo is very good. But this isn't what this needed for me. Kevin Owens comes out and he does a really... my favourite part of the whole segment was Kevin Owens' part. He really riffed on the whole heaven and hell theme. He said he called himself victorious, which was the victorious Kevin Owens. Said he nearly died at Hell in a Cell. He went to the pearly gates. Of course, he cut in line, though.
Yeah.
And he got to St. Peter, and St. Peter said, no, SmackDown needs you. And it was brilliant delivery, perfectly plays into Owens' entitled character, and he says, so I've given you a guardian in Sami Zayn. And here he is, here's Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn comes out with his old music, fair enough. He looks smiley, I'm like, where's this going? And then he said pretty much what we said, which is, I wasn't getting anywhere by being good, so I decided to be bad. And I thought, okay, that's fine. And then he started to talk about how Shane McMahon promised him this is a land of opportunity. Come over to SmackDown, you'll be rewarded. That was the last time I ever met with Shane McMahon, which isn't true because we've seen him multiple times talking backstage segments. It's like, okay, well that's a nice beat as well. And then he said that he only thought to interfere in the match when he ran down, like backstage, went in the Hell in a Cell match, and he saw Shane McMahon at the top of the cage, and he thought, Shane McMahon doesn't just want to beat Owens, he's a psychopath, he wants to end Kevin's career, and that's when I ran out there and saved Kevin.
That's what I said on Sunday, and you told me I was wrong.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, it's because that's like, but that doesn't make sense with the rest of the promo.
I agree, completely agree with you. I'm not saying I'm not saying it was, but I was actually a little bit let down by this. Yeah. I'm not sure whether it's like I had it built up in my head and I was so excited to see it. But I think what this was missing, very simply what this was missing, was a Daniel Bryan bit.
Yeah.
Because you had Bryan in the tag match absolutely like full of piss and vinegar because everything's falling apart backstage. That's what it came across as. That he should have come out to address Sami and Kevin. I'd also had Sami and Kevin come out together. Rather, because that would have then got rid of the part where Sami came out to his own music, which just felt really weird. Just them coming out together and Sami just standing in the corner while Kevin cut his promo and then could have introduced him and he could cut his promo. I think that would have worked better. But I will say, I thought this was a great promo from Sami. I thought the actual, like, the meat that was in the promo was very, very good. Again, as we said, the best kind of heels are the ones who are right. He is right in his grievances. That's great. So everything was kind of brilliant, but I don't know. I was expecting something better.
You see, the Daniel Bryan stuff would have worked a lot better.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that though. That's good. In my head, I didn't want Sami talking about how Shane's a psychopath and he was going to protect Kevin. I wanted Sami to go, you offered me all these things, Shane, and you're a liar. I hate you, Shane. And then, like, cut a proper promo on Shane. because he never really got angry. It was just like a very competently delivered promo to not much reaction from the crowd.
Well, I did write down here quiet crowd, but I wondered if they're just wrapped up, waiting to see what he's going to say, as opposed to just being quiet.
Yeah, it could have been either one. So like if Sammy starts really shouting at Shane for promising all these things, and you actually get like a feeling that Sammy is a heel now. He's an angry heel. And that's when Daniel Bryan can come out and say, how dare you do this? You really injured Shane McMahon because he didn't hit Kevin Owens.
This would have, if you'd have had the two of them in the ring, and you've had Kevin Owens cut his promo, and then Sammy start to cut his promo, Daniel Bryan interrupts and comes out and is like, I demand an explanation for what happened here. And you do the same promo, but in the three of them standing in the ring, that would have meant so much more, because you'd have also had then that authority figure for Sammy to put his anger at. And his target his frustrations at, as opposed to just targeting it to what I will imagine not a sold out arena.
Yeah, it's there's no drama, there's no dramatic tension. It's just two guys saying the same point of view to nothing. It's so Triple H, which is what Triple H loves to do. I'm going to go in there, I'm just going to talk for 15 minutes, and no one can talk and interrupt me. And I don't like that, But what I would have wanted more than anything is for maybe this, Kevin Owens does his promo. I wouldn't have changed that. Here's my friend Sami Zayn to tell his side. He comes out, and then Sami just drops the mic and doesn't say anything, because this is a story you can tell over weeks. You don't have to explain it right away. And then maybe in the next match they beat up everyone at the end.
Yeah,
and then then that's more of a cliffhanger. Brian Alvarez said something interesting the other day about, does this make me more interested to see the next development, or did it not? And I never really thought about grading stuff in that way. And this promo took away all the interest I had coming out of Hell in a Cell. I'm just, it's just an angle now. Whereas, before I was invested and intrigued about a story.
I will say there's a spot that I hope that they do, that I would look forward to, and I think it'll be an excellent spot, which is when you have, because if the way this feels like it's leading towards is Team Kevin versus Team Shane at Survivor Series. I'd imagine part of Team Shane, based on the match that we'll come on to later, will have AJ Styles in there. I would love to see them do a spot when, like in the lead up to Survivor Series, when they both do the powerbomb into the apron to Shane and AJ, like a simultaneous powerbomb thing. And like that as a tag team, that's the way they end their matches.
Yeah, I want to see them as a tag team.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Shinsuke Nakamura and Randy Orton beat Rusev and Aiden English.
Yeah, this year's most one-sided feud.
I mean, I've got nothing to say.
It went about 2 minutes. And yeah, I mean, Rusev and English are jobbers. So the bigger stars just beat him up. And that was it.
Nakamura needed a win after losing to Jinder. Jinder wasn't on the show and was not missed.
No.
At all.
No.
Next up, we had...
Right, okay. So, I know I've been asking for Luke Harper and Eric Rowan to come back on TV, and a few people to get in touch with me on Twitter this morning saying, like, is this what you wanted?
Are you happy now?
Are you happy now? Exactly. Are you happy now? You booked this. You booked them to get repackaged. Yeah, sorry about that.
So, yes, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper have been repackaged in this pre-taped promo where it was just sort of haunting, what would you call it, church music, like monasterian chanting, and it's kind of smoky, and the camera goes in a bit more. There's two guys in capes, they've got their backs to you, they turn around. Oh, it's Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. Oh, they've both got giant hammers. And then
they're both on their way to a D&D convention.
Yeah. Oh, now they're talking in a nicely shot, but, very hokey.
You say nicely shot, I did not like... So, if they'd have just stayed on the one and just the doing the two shot, that's great. But when they kept cutting to their faces for each individual line, it felt very hokey, and actually came across as the pair of them couldn't do this in one take. Yeah. And so they had to, it felt like a cheap editing trick to mask their deficiencies in cutting this promo.
Well, I mean, from what I saw, the thing I picked up on was, as someone who uses a teleprompter, their eyes were not in the lens. They were looking slightly above the lens, which is where the teleprompter would be. So they maybe it had to be like that so they could see the text they were reading. or maybe someone just with a clipboard and chucking some cards. Yeah, this was not what I wanted, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to want it.
Bludgeon Brothers.
We not even said that. The Bludgeon Brothers.
What is? Maybe we should do this as like a new segment. WWE's worst branding of the week: the Bludgeon Brothers or the Shield Bomb.
What about Sister Abigail? Or is that
that's not branding?
So yeah, it's the sort of thing that we would sign to the crap gimmick roster. Like like if someone said, "Here's my crap gimmick," Bray Wyatt actually dresses up as Sister Abigail.
Yeah.
And I'd be, that's pretty crap. Sign you right away to a multi-year deal like Bram. And the Bludgeon Brothers, it just
Yeah, it's not. I love Luke Harper. Eric Rowan can be really hidden in a tag team, and that's great. That's the kind of best role for him.
Look.
He's got a great look. The two of them work very well together. I'm glad to see them back on TV. This isn't great, but I'll be honest, I'm kind of intrigued to see like their music, their entrance,
how they use the hammers.
Will the hammers come into it? Will Triple H see it as gimmick infringement? I'm curious to kind of see how it goes. I genuinely am. As naff as it was, I genuinely am curious.
I keep like thinking, maybe it'll be okay. It's Harper and Rowan. I really like them. And then I remember, like, I get a flashback of them holding the hammers with the hoods on.
And here's the other thing as well. I can't tell you what their promo was about. Because they just said it's the Bray Wyatt thing. They just say stuff.
It's hard not to see the hammer. I can just tell you that there was a hammer in the promo.
Giant, just as I said, it looked like D&D cosplay hammers, the sort of thing you'd have made in your garage with your dad.
Because it didn't look weighty. It didn't look like there was any substance to it. It looked like a fake giant hammer.
Cardboard with gaffer tape.
Yeah.
Gaffer tape that I hide behind me to put up the t-shirts.
So, but the other thing is Bludgeon Brothers 2B. BB, the alliteration, 2B. It seems like this, once upon a time, was what Breezango were going to reveal as their attackers.
But now
because this concept obviously had a lot of work put into it, because you have to make the costumes, you have to commission the props.
They'd have had to go in and pitch this.
Yeah.
To Vince, because they would probably have come up with this idea and said, like, we want to come together as a tag team. Here's what we're thinking of doing. We're going to be called the Bludgeon Brothers.
Oh, I think...
You think this is a creative thing put on them?
Yeah, I just think, they're going to be a tag team, come up with something. The Bludgeon Brothers, and then
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was. I would like to think Harper did not have the Bludgeon Brothers. He did not come up with this.
I wonder if it's just him. He's just given up now because he wanted to be in the main event of WrestleMania, and bloody should have been as well.
So next up, we had more painful stuff with Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler.
This was awkward to watch, wasn't it?
Bobby Roode came out and did my pay-per-view match was glorious, which just makes him look like an idiot because it wasn't glorious. It was possibly the second worst match on the show, and everyone was noticeably disinterested in it. Which, I'm not saying go out there and say, hey, my match wasn't that interesting. I'm just saying don't mention it. Just can carry on. Like, I beat Dolph Ziggler, and that was glorious. Don't say the actual match was glorious, but that's by the by. Then Dolph Ziggler came out. I like his entrance now. Mm-hmm. Now that they've figured it out really well, where you start with the music, the record scratch, and then he comes out as nothing. Because then it's almost like immediately, boo! There's such a natural pause for the heat. And Ziggler comes out and he says, I want a rematch because you cheated. You hooked the tights to win at Hell in a Cell. And then Bobby Roode
forgot his lines. Yeah,
it was quite obviously rude, wasn't it?
It was very much rude. He pulled a Shane O'Mac, just got confused, got lost. As I've written here, this is the problem with scripting things to the letter. If Bobby had gone out there and said, like, here's the points you need to hit, now go off there and do it, he could have just cut this promo and been absolutely fine. The two of them could have just jabbered back and forth, and everything would have been fine. But because you script things out and you have to do it to the letter, you have to say these exact words in this exact order, you end up in situations where Shane forgets his lines. You end up in situations where Roman forgets his lines. And then they just have to stand there in this awkward pause while I've done it before, because as a child actor, I've been up on stage before and forgotten my lines. And you just stand there and you stare, you got that deer in the headlights look when you're just looking at the person you're working with, being like, I don't, and they can then tell, I forgot what my line is. I need you to pick up the pieces because we can't just stand here in silence while I try and collect my thoughts as to where I am on the script.
And Ziggler really tried to help him.
Really tried his best.
And he was quite good with a few things off the cuff. He said, yeah, and I'll make it hell again for you, using the Hell in a Cell. And Bobby Roode was just like, I want a match. But then, I think that you can definitely see a point where Bobby Roode's like, this is not working, screw it. You know what I want you to do? Shut up. And then he used all that anger at forgetting his lines and had a strong finish of anger.
Yeah.
But I felt for him. It's not like I didn't find it funny. I just found it.
I found it very awkward to watch. I almost couldn't watch.
And then you're just like, and that was glorious.
Yeah, and he missed his timing on that as well.
Yeah. The music came on before the
Oh
hands.
God!
I think they just play him off. When the cane comes out the side of the curtain. Play me off, Johnny. So finally, we had the main event, which was Baron Corbin beating AJ Styles clean in a pretty decent match. I like this one.
Way to end a feud.
Yeah.
And that's all this match was, is because you have to invoke that rematch clause. So they just had to finish off that feud. Baron Corbin proved that he was not a cheap shot artist. He beat AJ Styles clean, and away they go. Off onto other things.
This is one of the problems of having a rematch clause. You could have AJ didn't have to lose. He could have just moved on from this afterwards.
AJ could have come out during the Owens-Sami Zayn segments.
Yeah. Or even in the tag. He could have been involved in the tag match instead of that. I don't know. That's maybe bad. But yeah. But it's not even a consistent rule, is it? Because Kevin Owens is still waiting for his championship rematch.
But okay, let's not focus on the negatives.
Sure, it was a really
good match.
I liked it.
I really liked it. You know why? Because AJ Styles is just great. He's just brilliant. My favorite spot was when he went to do the springboard 450, and Baron Corbin went up. So he was just like, "I'm gonna do a move anyway." So we just did a little mini phenomenal forearm. It was grand.
He is just such a natural.
He's
been doing it for so long. He can just turn moments that would throw other people into things that genuinely made it look to happen. Yeah, it was,
I guarantee. I really do get the feeling that if WWE just put stock into him and just realised that how good he is in the ring, and just be like, let's strap a rocket to him. Let's really put some emphasis behind him. Let's make him the guy, even if it's just on the SmackDown brand. Let's just make him the guy. In 10 years' time, we will be talking about AJ Styles in the same reverence we do with HBK, with Kurt Angle, with The Rock, with
not The Rock.
Not in terms of megastar popularity, but guys, you're just one of the greatest of all time, and that's what AJ could be. But because they're not strapping the rocket to him at the moment, he's just he's the guy that just has consistently good matches.
Yeah, it's full credit to Baron Corbin too. I really, it's weird how he just feels suddenly refreshed now. He's not being shoved awkwardly into big matches. He just feels more at his level, and I like watching him wrestle. I like he's run around the turnbuckle and back into the ring, which AJ countered.
Yeah,
really
I
coolly.
love that as well, because that's you're using spots you've done in matches to work into other spots. I thought that was really good. Yeah, I really liked it.
So yeah, and for everyone, because I saw a lot of feedback in certain reviews that were like, "Oh, don't tell me AJ lost clean." I'm like, yeah, but now we can move on to the WWE picture. It's all good. So Raw or SmackDown, who actually won this week? Vote in the poll above my head so you can put your vote in. That wasn't the best way of doing that poll, but it means something because your votes will go against our votes, and if Luke chooses Raw and I choose SmackDown and you'll choose SmackDown, that means I get a point in the overall month war on WrestleRamble. Now, neither of us knew which one we were going to choose going into
we
this.
Both said... I hadn't made a decision, and we both said we'll talk it out in the Ramble, and we'll make our decisions based off the chat that we've had.
Do you want to go? Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I don't think either show was particularly great. I don't think it was a standout show, but I'm actually going to go with Raw.
I'm going Raw too.
Yes.
There's no tension then. Should we just skip to the end then? Click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest WrestleRamble or WrestleTalk news. Subscribe to this podcast on your chosen podcast provider and this YouTube channel. Support WrestleTalk on Patreon. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.